I'm going to tell you 3 stories about authors who had their books stolen, and also what you can do to make sure the same thing doesn't happen to you. These stories are going to terrify you. They are every writer's worst nightmare. But with these tactics I'm going to share, you can avoid falling prey to similar thievery. Story number 1. One day, Peter Baker got an email from his agent asking for his unpublished novel. Except it wasn't really his agent, but someone pretending to be his agent. The supposed agent was asking for a Word file because he'd supposedly misplaced the novel. Peter Baker sent it twice to his agent's actual email, and then the thief said, oh, I haven't received it. Could you change the email to a .co rather than a .com? The thief had set up a fake email address with his agent's name, but just missing that final M. Peter Baker fell for it. He emailed the thief his novel, and then afterwards his agent's like, why did you email me your novel twice this morning? And that's when he realized he'd been scammed. Eventually, in 2022, the thief was caught. And yes, he worked in publishing. His name was Filippo Bernardini, and he worked for Simon & Schuster in the UK. Basically, he was a failed writer who was angry at all the publishing industry for shunning him, so he decided to get even by stealing hundreds of unpublished books from famous authors, even people who had won the Pulitzer Prize. Okay, so what is the lesson for writers? Well, for starters, avoid sending your manuscript to people that you don't know. And think about when you're sending out your unpublished manuscript. Most of the time, it's when you're trying to find beta readers. This is the moment when your book is the most vulnerable because you haven't yet published it. A leak at this point would severely harm your novel. So my recommendation would be to only use beta readers that you can vouch for, that you know in some aspect, or who has worked with a friend of yours. Your work is actually copyrighted as soon as you write it. This is because of the copyright laws passed in the 1970s, at least here in the United States. But if you want additional protection, you can officially register it with the Copyright Office by following this link on the screen. Make sure not to go to any other websites, because when you Google government copyright website, there's like 6 ads that come up in Google before you reach this one, but this is the official government portal. It costs a little bit of money, it costs a little bit of effort, but if it sets your mind at ease and gives you an added layer of protection, it might be worth it. Story number 2. Raven had written a novel called Lever Action, and he posted it on Royal Road, which is like this serialization site for novels, kind of like Wattpad. But once the book was finished, Raven didn't immediately upload it to Amazon. He was just busy with other projects. Raven didn't try to upload it to Amazon until almost a year later, and when he tried to do it, Amazon said, this is published already. Prove to us that you own it. That is a horrible moment for an author. So Raven did some digging and found some unscrupulous person had taken every single chapter off of Royal Road and then uploaded it as a book to Amazon. And it was difficult to detect because they'd changed the name from Lever Action to The Bounty Hunter, action adventure fantasy mecca. Thankfully, there were no reviews and only a few downloads, so the book wasn't super lucrative for the pirate. Unfortunately, this story doesn't have a happy ending. Not only had this same pirate stolen a bunch of other stories, Amazon never shut down this person's account. And honestly, Amazon tends to be incredibly inconsistent when punishing people who steal other people's books. Sometimes they ban them, sometimes they let them go free. So this person is basically still out there pirating books. Writers beware. So what's the lesson for writers here? If something like this happens to you, realize that Amazon has a kind of hotline where you can contact them and say, hey, this person stole my book. Here's the website address where you can report that infringement, and within a few days, Amazon should take it down and hopefully delete that person's account. Well, how else can you guard against this? Just realize if you're posting something on an online website that it's possible someone will take the whole thing and try to put it on Amazon to make a buck off of it. So either you don't put the whole story up on websites like Royal Road and Wattpad, or as soon as you finish it, you immediately upload it to Amazon. Once it's in the Amazon ecosystem, it's somewhat safeguarded because no one else can put that exact same book up. The algorithm Amazon catches it. Story number 3. What if someone stole a book you hadn't written yet? I'm not going all sci-fi on you here. This isn't like Minority Report for writers. This third story involves a writer that I have known professionally for more than a decade, Jane Friedman. She's a legend in the publishing space because she does reporting about the publishing industry. She gives lectures all over the country and has even published a book with the University of Chicago Press called The Business of Being a Writer. One day, a person emailed her and said, hey, did you publish a book called Publishing Power? And Jane emailed back and said, no, she hadn't. And the woman said, funny, because I found that book with your name and your bio on Amazon. I bought it because I'm a big fan of yours, but when I read it, it was really bad quality. So I was wondering whether you were really the author. Well, Friedman went on to Amazon and she discovered that she'd been impersonated. Someone had used ChatGPT to write a whole bunch of books and then slapped her name and bio on them. There's a term for this that you should probably know. It's called brand jacked. She'd been brand jacked. And these were some of the book titles that they'd put up. Step-by-step guides, guides to making money quickly through writing, marketing strategies, tips on how to do KDP. But of course, none of these books were hers. The pirate was earning all the money from the sales. And it gets even worse because ultimately all these fake books got added to her actual Goodreads page. So if you were a reader doing some research and you went to Goodreads, you'd be like, I guess these books were written by her. So with Goodreads, she had to email the librarians and try to get them to take those books off her profile, which was super inefficient. It took weeks to get that accomplished. And when she emailed Amazon, they're like, well, do you have a trademark on your name? And she's like, no, I don't have a trademark. Who has a trademark on their name? Not a copyright, a trademark. And in the end, she discovered that Amazon basically has zero safeguards to protect authors from being impersonated. Basically, it's all up to you, the author. What are the lessons for writers that we can extract from this story? First of all, monitor your online presence. Check your Amazon page, check your Goodreads page. Search online for rip-offs of your book. You can't stop it from happening, but if you get Amazon or Goodreads to take it down quickly, at least you can prevent the pirate from earning too much off of it. And if you're talking to Amazon, here are the magic words which will unlock everything for you. Misleading customer experience. If you say those words, you're gonna get their attention. In the United States, you should also cite the Lamb-Han Act, which basically makes it illegal for someone to pass off someone else's work as your own. And if you need extra legal help beyond that, the Authors Guild offers membership starting at $99 a year, which includes free legal advice. Now it's time for a final story. I want to tell you one last story about book thievery. This one isn't about a person, it's more about every single book published in the last 30 or 40 years. If you haven't published yet, you might not realize this, but every single published book gets stolen at some point. Every one. Seriously, every one. I challenge you, find any published book that hasn't been uploaded on some file sharing site somewhere. You can't. What does this mean? Well, on some level, it's futile to fight against piracy. Pirate's gonna pirate, as they say. Do they say that? They should. But should this stop you from publishing? Absolutely not. All you can do is make it easy for people to buy your books legitimately, and the vast majority of people will. Since it's inevitable that your book's going to be stolen, relax, take a chill pill, write the best book you can. Just remember that your fear of having your book stolen can end up harming your writing career much more than a thief actually stealing your book. If fear of having your book stolen prevents you from sending your book out to beta readers or sending it out to agents, you're doing your writing career so much more damage than any thief ever could. Fear of book thieves can be more damaging than the thieves themselves. Remember that obscurity is always a greater danger than piracy. Look, you're gonna have to take some risks at some point and push your little baby novel out into the world. Hopefully you put into place the common sense safeguards I mentioned above, and legitimate readers will buy, read, and love your book.